for Sharpe ratio again, as well as risk-free rate, expected return, standard deviation, and variance. We're going to be using the investment in stock fund W, and that is going to be 0.4% investment in stock fund W, and these W's are standing for the weights. So these are the weights in the stock and the bond fund. So 0.4, 0.6, average going all the way up to 1. Expected return on the stocks 0.1, expected return on bonds 0.05, standard deviation 0.19, and the second standard deviation 0.08, and correlation coefficient 0.2. Once again, all the beige is given to you. Each one of these are given to you. You can pause and build this as you're watching if that's what you want to do. Now all you're doing is you're taking the sum, which that's what I was pointing into just a second ago. These two average all the way up to 1, so 100%. Variance, what you're going to do is you're going to take your investment in your stock fund, and you're going to square that, and you're going to times that by your standard deviation squared plus, then you're going to do the same thing for your investment in your bond fund, which is the weight for your bond fund, which is the 0.6 squared. Then you're going to multiply that by your standard deviation squared plus 2 times, this is where it changes up, plus 2 times your weight, and then you're going to multiply it by your weight in your bond fund, and then you're going to multiply that by your correlation coefficient, and then you're going to multiply that by your standard deviation, and then you're going to multiply your first standard deviation by your second standard deviation, which you will probably need to pause to be able to conceptualize this because it's very long and repetitive, but it isn't that hard. It's not, there's no division in it. It's just straight multiplication and things getting squared, which gives you 0.0095392 for your variance. So definitely a little bit more of a hefty calculation than what we've been going over. Now for your standard deviation is so easy once your variance has already been calculated. Simply take the square root of your variance and you get your standard deviation. Now, once you have your standard deviation and your variance, you can calculate for your expected return, which you do by taking your first weight of your stock fund, multiply that by your expected return for your stock fund, and then add that and do the same thing for your bond fund weight. Bond fund times your bond return. You do the same thing for both of them, and you get 7%. Make sure it's 7 flat. Now we're going to calculate for a risk-free rate, which you do by, this is another decently hefty, a little bit more complicated calculation, but for your risk-free rate, what you're going to do is you're going to take your first weight squared times your first standard deviation squared together in parentheses, and then you're going to add that and do the same thing for your second weight and your second standard deviation. You're going to make sure you do the squared, and then put those in parentheses, plus 2 times your first weight times your second weight times your first standard deviation times your second standard deviation times your correlation coefficient. And that will give you your risk-free rate of 0.095392, which is the same as your variance. Now for your Sharpe ratio, very simple compared to the other ones. You're going to take your expected return, and you're going to subtract your risk-free rate from it, and you're going to divide that by your standard deviation, which gives you 0.61903.